came across a drifting ship. I took a look inside. I found a note that someone wrote that said, take her for a ride. I set a course for sights unseen, went out to open sea. To my surprise, a bunch of sailors joined along with me. Now we're sailing on the mystery ship, and all the sailors here are really hip. There isn't any cost of membership, and all you gotta do is join our trip. Yeah, I'm the captain of the mystery ship, and I'm a-calling all aboard this ship. I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy it up on the mystery ship. So bring a friend and come along with us aboard the mystery ship.
Good Sunday evening to sailors. How is everybody doing out there? It is wonderful. Wonderful to have you aboard. Let's get a look at you, shall we? Let's get a look at you. There you are. Now I can see you. Now I can see you just fine. Boy, I am just swimming in black light. And when you're dressed in black, well, not a lot to see. Not a lot to see. How are you doing out there? It's your brother Zoe coming to you on another Sunday night version of The Mystery Ship. I'm so glad to see your smiling faces. Hats off to my dear brothers over there at Three Beer Men for sending me what the broadcasting equivalent of half a yard, if you know what. You ever seen a yard of ale? Holy smokes. It was a beer glass 36 inches tall, and they would fill them, and boy, you better be in a beer drinking mood for a yard of ale. Thank you, gentlemen. Always great to have you aboard the Mystery Ship. Thank you for sending me all of those fabulous people. Fabulous. And thanks even more to friends of mine like Spazzo Yeti, who can't help himself. He's throwing cans at me like it's the last day on Earth. Like I'm a B-grade bar band behind the barbed wire in the Blues Brothers. That's what it feels like. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Look at this guy. What is he doing? Thank you, my man. I think he's just returning the favor. We kind of throw pills at one another just to support the platform. Good to see you, my friend. Great to have you aboard. Let's sneak back up to the top here. I have to announce the beautiful people at Pilled Foxhole, because if you look behind me, you will see that they are this month's champions. Proudly wearing the crown. Yes, they are. They're still doing the boogie dance over there. We won. Yes, they are. Girl Patriot in the house. Delia E.A. Man, it has been a minute, girl. Good to see you. Hope you're doing wonderfully. Great to have you aboard. Zoom in the house. That is a great sticker. That is. I'm gonna have to yoink that one. Yoink. That's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. Fab. Okay, Mountain Dog Boy in the house. LT, my brother. Purple Pixie, what's up, little lady? Great to see you. Always great to see you. Spazzo Yeti is with us. My brother Sparky from up north. Good to see you. It's SRG Sparky. It's not SGT period Sparky. It's SRG Sparky. Well, wonderful. Wonderful, all the beautiful people who are lurking or hanging or just dropping by for the very first time. It is my pleasure to welcome you aboard the mystery ship. Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is with us. Just Jim coming in, my comedian friend right there, dropping some serious gold pill love. Thank you so much. Prayer Warrior Girl, wonderful to see you. Curious One, so glad you're here. Safety Net, we all know that's Lynn Winters. Good to see you, darling. So many great people. So many great people here tonight. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, my friends, over there at Pilled Foxhole. I saw some bodies pouring in over at Rumble. Yes, there are people at Rumble right now, and whoever you are, I want to welcome you aboard the Mystery Ship, where I come to you several nights a week, and the reason it's called the Mystery Ship is most of the time I don't have a damn clue what I'm going to talk about, but I got a beauty here tonight, baby. We got a really interesting little ditty to kick around with you tonight, and I cannot wait for the phone calls to. I want to hear your thoughts on this crap. I really do. We're nowhere near done. Nowhere near done with the hellos. God, I'm as sober as a freaking judge, and I'm tongue-tied. We got people over there at YouTube. Holy smokes, there's a whole hell of a lot of them over at YouTube. What is going on? Somebody opened the floodgates on a Sunday night. Great to see you. Denise, how are you doing, kiddo? Morton James White. Yes, indeed. Same as the old boss. The beards have all grown longer overnight, my friend. Good to see you. Lone Uke in the flesh. Hey, that's the first time I've ever seen your face. I like it. Erica, I bitch slap Satan. She does too, with a backhand like, You want to see her kick that motherfucker's ass. She means business, that woman. Good to see you. Great to have you aboard. Dandy 002 in the house, my brother. Brother from another mother. Our Charlie is with us. You're going to like the show, Our Charlie. It's going to be fascinating. Fascinating. I used to be able to do the Spock thing. Yes, Captain. I can't do it like I could in my 20s. In my 20s, I could get that eyebrow halfway up my head. Let's see. Andy Social in the house. Good to see you. Deborah Erdman, how are you doing, kid? Good to have you aboard. Wonderful to see you all. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us here tonight on the Mystery Ship. Getting over to the other side of town, which is my other screen. Okay, my other screen, all the way across town. Let's see. We are live at Twitch, but it says somebody's over there, but I don't see him. In the meantime, I'm going to say hello to the wonderful sailors who support this program through thick and thin. I'm referring to the wonderful folks in Lemon Land. God bless them all. They have been with me since damn near the very beginnings of this show. Sheeple beware in the house, dropping lemons like I'm making lemonade, like I'm playing the lemon song. Spudley in the house. Syllabore is with us. Artist61. Steph, how are you doing, kid? Good to see you. Great to have you aboard. Miss Kitty is with us tonight, Amethyst Cat, and she's spreading that lemon love around. Good to have you aboard. Thanks for helping out, kid. You are seriously one of the best. Bad Zoot. And 4 feet of hair. 4 feet, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you've seen it with your own eyes. Well, good to see you. Always a pleasure. Lynn Winters is going to both camps, saying hello, spreading the love, back and forth. Peggy Dancer is here with us. Jayla17 in the house. Wow, this is just a beautiful array of sailors all the way around, 5 different platforms. Thank you for joining me this evening, my friends. This is The Mystery Ship. If this is your first time here, I welcome you. If you are returning for the 359th time or whatever it is tonight, thank you for being here. It is always my pleasure. As you guys know, I really do. I enjoy ice cream. I enjoy Harley Davidsons. Wait, where's my other camera? My other camera's gone. No, there it is. Let me see. Can you see my Harley from here? Can you see my Harley from here? There she is. Peggy. Peggy Sue right there. Peggy Sue. Peggy Sue. Pretty, 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 Peggy Sue. Yeah. That's one. There's another one tucked in behind it. You can't quite see Libby right now. She's Libby is in the number 1 go-to position, so I can whip her out and ride her away real fast if the situation calls for it. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for coming aboard. Raja D, good to see you. How's it going? I was up in the middle of the night with Raja D. In fact, Raja, you're going to, I think you're going to enjoy what I'm going to be laying out tonight, because it kind of follows in the footsteps of a dear brother of mine, who I will mention here shortly. Where are we? We are live aboard the Mystery Ship on 5 different stations, whatever you want to call them. And it's my pleasure to have you here. Your flag is waving and visible to all sailors. My flag is waving. Could have sworn I had my pants zipped up. Yes, my flag, she is a waving. She is a waving. So is this one. So is this one. I love this flag. I will wave this flag every chance I get. We'll be back on the other side of this to launch into tonight's program. I'm so glad to have you with us. Thank you for joining me aboard the Mystery Ship.
This is Daily Insanity, and you are listening to The Mystery Ship with Zoso Dude 77.
Hi, I am Deborah R., and you are watching The Mystery Ship with Zozo Dude 77.
This is Dribby Doo, and you're on The Mystery Ship with Zozo Dude.
This is Captain Grams, and you are on The Mystery Ship with your captain, Zoso Dude 77.
Hello, this is Prayer Warrior Girl, and you're on the Mystery Ship with Zozo Dude 77.
Hi, this is Awakened Mom, and you are on board with the Mystery Ship with Zoso Dude.
This is Matty F&B, and you're watching Zoso Dude on the Mystery Ship.
This is Rick Carmen. Welcome aboard the Mystery Ship.
I am Bitch Slap Satan, and you are watching Mystery Ship. What else?
This is Jayla17, and you're aboard the Mystery Ship with Zozo Dude 77.
You are live with Zoso and the Mystery Ship via Sloan TV.
This is John Otter.
And this is Q Magoo.
And we're watching the Zoso 77 Mystery Show. Oh, Mystery Ship!
You're watching Mystery Ship with Zoso Dude 77.
Greetings, sailors. This is Prairie Fire, and you are rocking on the Mystery Ship with our captain, Zoso Dude 77.
This is Rhett 66.
And this is 94 Winchester. You're on the Zoso Show.
On the Mystery Ship.
Alright, this is Sleeping Stars 91, also known as the Hot Dong Lady, and you are watching the Mystery Ship with Zoso Dude 77.
This is Special K, and you're with us
on the mystery ship with Zoso Dude, 77. And he got
Hey sailors, it's T.L. Spud from beautiful Clark County, Washington, and you're watching The Mystery Ship with Zoso Dude.
Of course, this is the Batman, your favorite mustache superhero. And I'm here to tell you that we are on the mystery ship with our good captain, Zoso Dude. God bless everybody. Peace out from Batman.
That right there is just a small sampling of the sailors. Each and every summer, I jump aboard one of my two Harleys. I've taken them both. And I ride around the United States meeting the wonderful people who watch my show. I have been to 47 of the contiguous states down below. I've got one left to hit, which is North Dakota, and I really wanted to hit it on the last one, but I just got rained out and snowed out, or just rained out in freezing cold and thunderbolts and lightning. Very, very frightening. All of that. I had it all. I had enough. I turned south and I went to Belushi's and warmed my buns. That's what I did. Sometimes, what did they say? Discretion is the better part of valor. Yeah. In other words, I was a chicken shit. Ah, boy. Where's M3? Who's saying M3 does stuff? Wait a minute. I just record all the intro crypt. Is that Methods? Wow, he's spreading the love around. Good to see you, brother. Always good to see my dear brother Methods. Wow. Well, isn't that a kick in the pants? I better be on my best behavior. Folks, you know, ever since I became awakened, I awakened somewhere around, I believe it was 04. And the reason was I was poking around the internet and I came across a video clip. It was the very famous video clip of George W. Bush, the junior, the dumb one, sitting there in the classroom when someone whispered in his ear, not once but twice, that planes had supposedly run into the North and South Towers. And then he continued to sit there for what I believe is another 7 minutes, something like that. And it was right then and there that I questioned everything in life. And I thought to myself, you know, if I was the president and someone had whispered into my ear that a plane had run into one of the buildings at the World Trade Center, my first reaction would have been that of shock and awe. I would have been sitting on that chair with that little book in my hand, I Pet Goat, and gone, wow, really? That's like a no-fly zone. Are you sure? But when 25 or 28 minutes later, they whispered in his ear that one had supposedly struck the other tower, if I had been the president, now I don't claim to be a genius, but I could have put two and two. I got enough scratch up in the gray matter. There's still enough gray matter that hasn't been burned out by all the methaqualudes I used to bong back in the 70s. I would have put two and two together that it was on purpose. Something is drastically wrong, and we must be under attack. And I would have launched out of that little stool and announced to the kids, sorry kids, but the Prez has got to go. But he didn't do that. He sat there for another few minutes with this dumbass look on his face, and I'm sure that in that little pea brain of his, now this is all assumption. This is my personal take on this. Don't take it as fact. Don't even hold me to it, because I don't know what I believe anymore. But at that point, I thought to myself, this is premeditated, and surely he knew about this. because otherwise he would have had the same reaction as me, jumping up out of his seat and saying the prez has to go. Instead, he sat there, and in his little brain, the hamster on the wheel was spinning, and he was saying to himself, okay, from here on out, I've got to act like the script. And I got to remember to use the word terror and terrorists as many times as I can over the course of the next 6 months. Terror, 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 terror. From that moment on, I never believed in anything anymore, and I started looking under every little stone and nook and cranny because of the things that I used to just raise an eyebrow over. At this point, I was full-blown non-believer looking for something to believe in. And I found less things that I could believe in than things I could actually put faith in. Now, I am a builder. That's what I do for a living. I build buildings. I've had a variety of jobs in my lifetime. One of the jobs I had as a young man in my early 20s is I worked at an aircraft factory in Chatsworth, California, a place by the name of Hydro Mill. And it still is a giant warehouse filled with what was back in the day state-of-the-art 5-axis CNC machines where we milled aluminum and we built parts for Boeing, Northrop, Grumman, you name it. We manufactured aluminum parts for all of the aircraft companies. And one of the things that we made were the ribs. Giant aluminum ribs that are the fuselage of 737s. Back then, they were still 747s. All of that. We made those. And you know, I drove a forklift. I ran the receiving dock. It was my job to bring in brand new pallets of aluminum, billet stock of aluminum, and we would take this aluminum and we would mill it into parts. Each and every part was brought into the factory, and I was the very first person. I was the very first inspector. I would inspect the part with this little, I forget what it was, some kind of machine that had some kind of magnetic thing, and I would go through and I would test the part on all 4 sides, all 20 feet of it, whatever. And if the aluminum came through with flying colors, if it passed the little needle on my box, I would get out a metal stamp set and I would stamp a serial number into this part and issue a book that would follow this part around as it went throughout the entire milling process, and each and every time it got milled again, it got inspected, it got deburred, it went through the whole thing, and then when it was all done, you wouldn't believe these beautiful airplane ribs. We made all kinds of stuff. We made stuff for F-18s. I mean, we made government stuff. When we had the government guys there, the Air Force guys walking around in their suits, man, we were all on our best behavior. They were a great contract to have, the United States government. But I remember one day driving the forklift, and I accidentally backed into a box, not in the receiving department, but over in the shipping department. And this was a horrendous mistake on my behalf. And I backed into a box that was crated and ready for shipment of ribs, brand new ribs on their way to Boeing, Seattle, to be assembled into a brand new airplane. And would you believe it, my little 2-ton warehouse forklift, I bent those ribs. I bent them up, twisted them up like a pretzel. And that's just my little weenie forklift, okay? It was like a $50,000 or $60,000 mistake. And the only thing that saved my ass was my immediate supervisor, God rest his soul, a great guy by the name of Chuck Francino. He was my boss, and he liked this little Italian boy. And he stuck his neck out for me and said, look, this kid has been nothing but fantastic since he got here. He's gone through the backlog of old materials. He has really put our receiving dock back in great shape. The last guy left it a nightmare. Give him another chance. This was an accident. And it was, it was a good job at the time. It paid far more than anything else that I could have been doing at the time. And the truth is, I didn't take the job very seriously because I was going to be in the next Led Zeppelin. That's what I was going to do with my life. I didn't really care about this job at an aircraft factory. Now, years later, when YouTube came around, which was, 06? YouTube started on Valentine's Day of, I believe 2006. Don't quote me, but I do know it started on Valentine's Day. It was either 05 or 06. I want to say 06. Somebody told me about YouTube, and I started poking around on there, and it was fascinating back in the early days of YouTube because the world was your oyster. You could look up anything. You could look up freaking anything in those days, and there was some kind of video on it, It pales at the time in comparison as to what it has now. I mean, the billions of videos that they have in stock now for your perusal, your immediate perusal, is vastly different than what they had back then. But they had interesting stuff back then. And being a builder, one day I chanced upon video of the guys building the World Trade Center. And of course, I was fascinated by this. I mean, these are, your tough ass union dog, badass mofos, okay? These are, as far as construction worker goes, these guys are the cream of the crop back there. And there's plenty of videos, you can watch them to this day, of them pouring cement in those little go buggies. And the buildings were really uniquely built because although they had some interior columns, the structure of the building was held up by its exoskeleton, okay? The outside of the building is what gave the World Trade Center its rigidity, okay? Its diaphragming, it was really something to behold, and they built them in these pie-shaped pieces that fit together. They would crane them into place and slide them down, and piece by piece they would fit, halfway into this one, and then they would weld, and then they would go get the next one and drop it in. And I was fascinated at how this thing was built. But even more impressive to me as a builder was the fact that the outside of the building was comprised of 1 inch thick I-beam steel, 1 inch thick. If you have any idea, I mean, I'm sure many of you over the years have seen cars from the 1950s, okay? And if you look at things like the fenders, I used to have a 1951 Chevy pickup. And I'll tell you what, the rear bumper on my 1951 Chevy pickup had a 3/8 inch thick rear bumper on it. It was an aftermarket bumper. And I think twice in the time that I owned that truck, once I got rear-ended. I got rear-ended by somebody, and absolutely nothing happened to my pickup truck. This guy was he was screwing with his cassette deck. He wasn't looking at what he was doing. He never even stopped. He ran full force into me at like 35 miles an hour while I'm waiting at a red light, and I'm like, ooh, what was that? didn't even phase my pickup truck. And that 3/8 thick bumper just destroyed the front end of this guy's car. I mean, wasted him. He got hauled away, and I drove away saying, hey, man, I'm really sorry, buddy. Feel bad for you. Maybe next time you'll look where you're going. And that's just 3/8 steel in a flat plane, okay? 3/8 steel in a flat plane. The minute you take steel and you turn it and you make it into a C shape or an H shape, the rigidity goes through the roof. Then when you increase it to 1 inch thick, you're talking about a fucking fortress, okay? Nothing is going to penetrate an outer wall made of H-beams or I-beams that are 1 inch thick. So I'm telling you that having bent the aluminum from an airplane with a forklift, and then years later being told to believe that an airplane penetrated through the side of a building constructed of 1 inch thick I-beam pieces, I raised an eyebrow like Spock. Let me do it again. I just can't get it done like I used to. Just can't do it like I used to. I just didn't believe it. What I believed should have happened, if indeed there were airplanes, and I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. But you remember way back when you were in college? Remember going to those frat parties, and like the lineman from the football team would take a Budweiser can and pop the top and guzzle the beer. Then they would take the empty can and just crush it against their foreheads into a little flat hockey puck. Okay? Well, to me, that is what should have happened. That is what should have happened if an airplane had been run into the side of one of those towers. And I don't care how fast it was going. I really don't. Now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't have dented it or put a, nice depression in the side of it and perhaps maybe torn loose a couple of the welds. But as far as completely penetrating it, and as some of the videos showed, going all the way through and have a perfect replica of the nose stick out the other side. Those of you who have seen the video called Pinocchio's Nose, you know what I'm talking about. This just couldn't happen. I'm sorry. There's nothing in the world that's ever going to make me believe that could have happened. No. I prefer to think there was maybe some kind of incendiary device planted, and that perhaps with some video fuckery we were taught to believe something different happened. I don't know. It's been 23 years and I still don't know what happened. I don't. But I do know what I do know from construction work, and I'm telling you that aluminum bends and folds when introduced to steel. Steel is far. Steel has far more integrity than the thickest aluminum ever. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Believe what you will. I'm not trying to tell you what to believe. So, as of that day, I just never looked at things the same ever again. Back then, I used to be on Facebook, and there was a banner that you have. You have your little picture on Facebook. I don't know. I haven't been on it now in 7-8 years since I quit Facebook, but you used to have a little picture of yourself, and then behind you could have a banner, and you could put whatever. Well, on my banner, on my Facebook page, there was a photograph taken. It's a famous photograph taken in the subway of New York City, and someone had spray painted on a wall, "Question everything." And folks, that was me. I began to question everything. And some of the things that I looked at over the course of my life, I mean, as a kid, I've shared this so many times. As a kid, I was fascinated by things like the Loch Ness Monster, okay? Oh man, I used to read books on it. Every time I'd see it on a magazine, I would buy that magazine. The Loch Ness Monster, things that just didn't make sense, always fascinated me. Well, you can imagine as you get older, you find more and more and more things that fascinate you. And like I said, 9/11 was certainly one of them. I started reading about this and that, and I came across a site years and years, this is 20 years ago, and it was these mounds. It was these two brothers, and they would travel the United States, and they would find these mounds that were obviously put there on purpose. Everything else around the topography of the area was flat. But they came across these strange mounds, and they started digging them up, and inside they found the skeletal remains of what can only be described as giants, okay? They found over and over and over again in states all over right here in Oregon, they found them, okay? Giant skeletons. And back then, at the turn of last century, people didn't know what to do with that stuff. I mean, at first they would bring in archaeologists and this and that, and they'd get out the toothbrushes and start excavating and finding these enormous and photographs were taken, and there are newspaper articles showing all this. This is no news to any of you guys. You're well aware of all this that I'm sharing with you right now. But I was fascinated by this, and fascinated to find out that the ultimate decision when these things were found around the country, and they found skeletons 8 feet tall, 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall, 16 feet tall. I think the largest one found was just under 30 feet tall, if you can imagine that. Now, I wasn't there. I didn't dig it up. I can't confirm this, but I've seen a ton of photographs of 10 and 12 foot tall skeletons with people standing right next to it with shovels and picks. So you could see the living human being in comparison to the bones that they found. And what was decided was that, hey, let's send this to the Smithsonian. And apparently hundreds of these skeletal remains were sent to the Smithsonian, who promptly discarded all of them. They ground them up. They burned them. They destroyed them. Apparently, somebody in a powerful position said, "Yeah, we don't want to. This isn't a narrative we want to run with. We want this shoved under the rug." Fortunately, enough evidence remains to this very day, and people are actually still digging these up. They are still digging them up all around the world. So there's enough evidence that will never be gotten rid of to prove that giants once roamed what we now know as North America and South America and all other parts of the world. I don't have to tell you about the Kandahar giant, I guess, that was found by some U.S. soldiers a while back. Okay, everybody knows that story about the big redhead that they took down with 2 rows of teeth and apparently smelled like he hadn't seen a shower in several years. Yeah, that guy. Folks, I don't know what to believe when it comes to this. I really don't. I've never seen any of those bones myself, But another one of the things that fascinated me was the elongated human skulls, where the back of the head stuck out like yay far. Explain that one to me, Lucy. Splain, Lucy, splain. I don't know what to tell you. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And I have explored so much of this. So much of this. I'm fascinated, personally fascinated by the hidden history. We've talked about this before. The hidden history. I loved history as a kid. It was one of the few classes, straight A's. It wasn't even, I devoured my history books. I was reading my friend's older brother's history books, so that by the time I got, 2 years ahead, and I finally got back to that same book that I borrowed from my friend's older brother, I just breezed through it. Straight A's history. I loved it. There is a dear brother of mine, and he has got a fantastic channel. In fact, he's live right now as we speak. His name is Paul Thaddeus. In fact, let me just take a minute here. Let me take a minute right here. I want to show this to you. Let's go like this. Let's go like this. Come on, Zoe. Okay, over here on YouTube right now. Excuse me. Over here on Pilt Foxhole. If you look right down here at the bottom, right below Sloan's porch. Oh, come on. Let me raise this up a little bit. Here he is. Here he is right here. Paul Thaddeus. Paul Thaddeus. Paul is a buddy of mine. He is a buddy of mine, and we both crave knowledge, hidden knowledge. We love it. We love it. Paul has the gift that my brother Tim Sloan has, where he knows how to just loop endless. He can pick 30 or 40 shows from YouTube, from Twitch, from BitChute, from Rumble, and he somehow puts them so that they run continuously and 24 hours a day. He broadcasts on the Paul Thaddeus channel. Seriously, if you want to go get lost in some mystery history, I invite you to go check out the Paul Thaddeus channel. And when you're there, tell him that your brother Zoe sent you, because I love the guy. He's a freaking great dude. There was something that I have been exploring lately, and I'm sure, everyone knows about the, it's biblical, okay? Everyone, all of the world's great religions, all of them have some sort of story regarding a flood, a great flood. My fellow Christians, I'm sure you're well aware of Noah being instructed by God to build his boat and take 2 animals, male and female of every kind from the earth, and loading them on the boat. And miraculously, the tigers didn't eat any of the humans, They all made it. They all made it. And God rained down the heavens. I've talked to some people who firmly believe when you look up at the night sky and you see the Milky Way, there are some people who believe that God just took his hands and opened up the heavens right there and let the water come down, and that's where he put the heavens back together. That's how we have the Milky Way. It sounds good to me. I don't know what to tell you. Again, I wasn't there when it happened, but there must be some explanation why it looks so vastly different than the whole rest of the sky. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. But there are stories about what some people call the mud flood. Some people call it the Younger Dryas. Depending on who you're talking to, there's millions of stories regarding the fact that much of the earth was placed underwater for some period at some time. And it's a pretty tough thing to argue against. Now, there are some people, everyone has some kind of theory as to how it happened, as to why it happened. I mean, modern day anthropologists and scientists and people, who atheists, they've got to have some explanation for it because they can't involve God in any way. There has to be some scientific explanation as to how this happened. A lot of people refer to this period as the mud flood. I don't know. I don't necessarily believe in that, but I don't know. I don't know. I do know this. There is a great deal of architecture in this country, the United States of America, where I reside, where excavations have shown that some of our buildings, some of the buildings that we still use today, to this very day, actually have an entire floor below them that is now completely covered, like the earth outside somehow was raised up 20 feet, completely burying most of the first floor, leaving, in some cases 3 or 4 feet. Sometimes you can just see the top of windows to where it kind of looks like there might be a basement down there. All right? Who knows? Who knows? Again, I wasn't there. But one thing that I do admire, and this is the builder in me. This is the builder in me, people. I am well versed in 4 different trades. If I had to, I could go earn a living tomorrow. If I lost my job tomorrow morning, I could go to 4 different types of companies. I am a first-class carpenter. I know how to butcher wood in ways that most people have probably forgotten, okay? I know my way around a skill saw, all right? I can build shit from radius staircases, you name it. I've probably done it in my lifetime. Another thing I am well versed in is plastering. Yes, lath and plaster, be it interior plaster or exterior plaster. I've done it all, including things like gunite and shotcrete and all kinds of nasty stuff where you are blowing rocks and concrete out of a hose this big around, out of a pump that has enough guts to knock you on your ass. Been there, done that. I'm pretty good at it. But regular concrete too. Flat work, slabs, foundations, all of it. Decorative concrete, stamped concrete, where we take flat concrete and we use plastic forms and we stamp it and tamp it into the top layer, and we broadcast different powders, release powders, making it look like old cobblestones or whatever, when the fact is all it really is just modern day, all day long 5-sack concrete that comes out of your local concrete truck. We can disguise it to look like all kinds of stuff. It's really pretty neat stuff. Another thing I am good at is masonry. I have laid many a block and brick in my day. I've also been a hod carrier. boy, you want to bust your ass for a living. I know a thing or two about being a hod carrier and laying brick and block. So, I've got a vast bit of construction knowledge in the 37 years that I have been busting my ass as a construction worker. And I'm proud of that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm a deluxe ditch digger, and so what? That's what I do. But one of the things that I admire is old world architecture. I had the pleasure of touring Italy back in the mid-'70s when I was a young man, looking at things like the Colosseum and oh my God, some of the buildings that we saw over there were just amazing. I also, later on in my life, in my 40s, I was lucky enough to travel down to the Mayan ruins down in Mexico, in Chichen Itza. I got to climb El Castillo, the giant triangular pyramid with steps that are 6 inches wide and 12 inches tall, with the two snake heads on the side, and incredible. I'm fascinated by the architecture that we find around the world. Things like the pyramids, I sit and wonder how those could have been built with the weight of those stones. And I feel pretty good in telling you that whatever stories they've tried to tell us about about slaves with chisels and little hammers chiseling out these things and then moving them some 500-600 miles across the desert to the location. Yeah, I'm not believing that. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but I'm just calling bullshit on that one. Okay? I mean, I've run some pretty big freaking forklifts in my life. Big ass forklifts. And I've worked with cranes, those giant sky cranes that you've seen. I've done 18-story hotels. I worked on the Standard Hotel in Lower Manhattan, in Chelsea, the meatpacking district, 13th and Washington. And let me tell you, we can lift some pretty big shit, but there's no way we were lifting the stones that they put the pyramids together with. It's just not with what we know today. Now, Paul Thaddeus has been showing on his program, his fine program, by the way. There are two guys in particular, two channels out there. One of them uses Rumble as their home, and the other one uses YouTube. And both of these guys, they think similarly. They both think that the world as we know it, the New World, and I'm talking about the New World, when the Europeans wanted to sail over to the New World, okay? It would appear that perhaps the New World and the history that has been written about the New World, there might be some fabrication going on there. And the reason I say that is these two gentlemen that I'm referring to, one of the channels is called My Lunch Break. And the other one is called, what does he call it? He calls it Old World Exploration. Both of these content creators think similarly in that they believe that many of the buildings that we know and use today here in the United States weren't built by us, not built by the generation of men that came over on the Mayflower and subsequently turned the New World into what we have today. These men put forth the proposition that perhaps, we were lucky enough to come across and find a great many of these buildings already here. The funny thing about it is when you look at the history behind many of these cities, many of these cities, one of the guys in particular really does his homework, okay? This guy does his homework, and he goes back and looks at the records of the population in these towns. And I'll just pick a town, okay? Madison, Wisconsin. That's a place I just recently went to. Visited my dear brother, Prairie Fire, or Mad Pogue, however you know him. I visited him there. And while we were in the midst of downtown, he pointed over and he showed me the state capitol. And a very, very impressive building. Very much resembles the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Looks very, very similar. I mean, just a magnificent structure to behold. You can see it from blocks and blocks away. Well, these two guys on these two channels, one of the things they do is they go back and they look at how many people lived in Madison, Wisconsin in 1860, and then 1870, and then 1880, 90, the turn of the century, and then counting forward. And they show you the population and how it doubled and then doubled again and then kind of leveled off for a few years, and then more people came in, and eventually all these towns turned into these thriving, the metropolises that we know and love today. But when you go and you look at the age of the buildings there, and you look at how intricate and ornate and just flat out freaking amazing architecture was done back in those days. I mean, one of these guys, I think it's the Old World Exploration Channel. I'm gonna be sharing these with you. I want you to go and check these out for yourself, because it's kind of hard to dispute what these guys are laying down, and it goes right in line with what I have long contended that we may have had masterful builders in our day with the Masons and such, but I worked for a company that duplicated architecture. We made our stuff out of fiberglass and glass fiber reinforced concrete, GFRC and GFRG and FRP, fiber reinforced plastic. We replicated things like the New York Public Library and the incredible columns out front, at the top of which has a beautiful Corinthian capital, and then across the whole top of it was the egg and dart, and then the dentals, the little squares that you see all across. Incredible architecture. We duplicated this out of fiberglass. It doesn't weigh anything, and they're hollow on the inside, and I would just go up to a building, and I would screw a piece of 2x4 to it that was cut to the right width, and I'd put a little liquid nails on each side, and I would take this very ornate piece of fiberglass that looked like a stone corbel this big, that looks like it would weigh 1,000 pounds, and I would just poke it up there, run some screws in it, take a little fiberglass putty and putty up my screw holes, and then scratch it down a little bit so you don't see the patch. And then from the ground, it looks like we built a stone building of incredible magnitude, when the fact is it's all fake. It's all plastic. It's all fucking plastic. But when you go and you look at these buildings that are really made of stone and have these incredible acanthus leaves and dentils and egg and dart and columns with either Ionic capitals or Corinthian capitals. These building practices, I don't think we could replicate this stuff today with all of our fancy CNC machines. How would you lift something like, how would we build the U.S. Capitol today? How would we do that? Now, I'm a builder, okay? And I'm telling you, we're pretty good with steel. We can do a lot today with steel and concrete and panels and pre-made shit that we swing into place and weld and caulk the joints and make it look, we can do some really, really interesting and ornate stuff today. But the work, even the finest work that we are capable of doing today, and you're hearing this from a builder with a ton of experience working all over the freaking country. You look at these buildings and you have to say to yourself, my God, how did they build? Who was the guy that mounted the spire on the top of this freaking building? I've got to show you some examples, okay? I can ramble on all night about this. Let me show you some examples of what these guys are sharing, okay? Let's go. And this is sheer random, okay? Just sheer freaking random. I'm just going to pick one. What is this? Exploring the Old World, episode 2. Okay, I'm just grabbing this one.
So what is this old world?
All right. Let me put this on the screen for you. I'm going to turn the volume down, and I'm going to play this for you. And let me scroll ahead and show you what it is that I'm referring to. Okay? Now, hang on just a second here. All right. Okay, right here. There's a perfect example. Let's hear, maybe this guy will describe what town this is. Okay, so look right here. In the forefront, you can see some relatively modern architecture for the day, okay? Look at the cars. Look at the cars here, okay? You still got horses and buggies. That's what we're seeing right there. Let me blow that up a little bit for you. Oh, come on. It won't blow up. It won't blow up? No. Okay. These are horses and buggies. And these are some of the very, very earliest cars, like the Model A, Model T, okay? But look at this building. Look at the intricacy of, this is called, see this giant piece right here? This is called a belvedere, okay? Bel means beauty. Vedere is from the Italian. It means to see. Okay, so you put it together, belvedere, to see beauty. Basically, a belvedere is a lookout point. If you could ascend to the top of this 5-story building and then get up into this belvedere, can you imagine the view that you would have looking out these windows? But look, people, at the ornate structure. Look at these rounded off stone. This is round windows. I mean, this is just the first freaking building I'm showing you. Okay, let's hear what this guy has to say about this.
structures. So I thought we'd begin with the Princess Theater, a structure that does still stand to this day. And you can see it in the modern day, still showing off much of its old world charm to us. And a little narrative for context here. We can see it's almost a 1,500 seat theater, originally established in 1854. And this is a picture of what it looked like before it was rebuilt. This is supposedly from 1865. They tell us it was rebuilt in 1886. And we have a Gold Rush narrative, very similar.
This isn't necessarily giving me what I want. Let me just move forward. Let's see. Yes, here's some more just incredible buildings. He'll eventually tell us what town this is.
Investment Company building, or API building, gets a little bit confusing. Construction time 2 years, 1888 to 1890. We're looking at 12 stories. At the time, the tallest commercial building in Australia. Some claims that it was the tallest in the world, competing with cities like New York and Chicago. And then those claims were backtracked down through time. This has been demolished. This thing was demolished in 1980, I believe. So the Australian Property Investment Company supposedly.
Okay, so that's Australia. This guy, what he does, let me get back on screen here. This guy has put forth the supposition that these incredible buildings have existed all over the world, and that perhaps they were built by a prior civilization, okay? I mean, I'm talking before Amerigo Vespucci, before Columbus, before we came over from, before we colonized everything, okay, before the Europeans came over and colonized America. This man is suggesting that we found these buildings already here. When you look at the history of the towns, be it Philadelphia, be it Madison, Wisconsin, okay, you will find that all of the town's records, they'll have records of these buildings. And they'll say that these buildings were constructed in a 2-year period from 1876 to 1878. That 12-story building was built with all of its ornate features, the belvederes, the incredible fucking architecture. It never tells you who the architect was. It never tells you who the contractor was, who built the building. None of that information. We do know that these buildings were built in 2 long-term, maybe sometimes 5 years to build a building. I can tell you because I visited the home in Asheville, the Vanderbilt Mansion, which was an incredible home in Asheville. Took them 10 years to complete the house. It is as ornate and special as you could ever imagine. I believe it was built from 1895 to 1905. Took them 10 years. They built a wooden a mill right on the site to cut all the lumber for the damn building. Well, what's going on here? Okay. Anyway, I've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes. What's happening here? What's going on here? Am I on the wrong? Okay, there we go. I have been to. I'm fascinated by architecture. I'm fascinated by building techniques. I'm in the trades. I am a builder. Okay, working on an 18-story hotel in Manhattan is one of the biggest feathers in my cap, in my construction cap. Okay, I'm very proud of some of the enormous projects that I have worked on in places like West Hartford, Connecticut, and Hawaii, and I've been very fortunate in my career. I've seen a lot of really, really cool stuff. I've worked all over Las Vegas. I watched them build, what is that thing? The Stratosphere, where it's a 3-sided concrete structure, and there's a big casino on the top, and now you can jump off the side, and there's all kinds of crazy. I watched them build that with slip forms. I was working in Vegas at the time, and they would pour like 40 feet at a time. Then they would slide the forms up and then do the rebar and pour the next. It was fascinating to watch. And I'm not saying that we don't have incredible building techniques today, but I am here to tell you that all of our best building techniques, the best architects that we have in this country, couldn't build something like this today. Not in 2 years, like they claim, like many of these buildings claim they were built. In 2 years? Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. Let's look at some of these others. Let's look at some of these other. Now, some of these actually have construction photos, which is, oh no, this is demolition. This is demolition. This is where they're tearing this stuff down. One of the things that these two guys are pointing out is that so many of these grandiose and just incredible architecture buildings that sport incredible architecture, they are being torn down. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. I guess they don't necessarily need a 10-story structure there. They tear it down, they raise it, and in its place, they'll build a 3-story or a 4-story civic auditorium or whatever the hell it is they need. But a great many of these buildings, for one reason or another, they seem to catch on fire. They seem to catch on fire, and these two programs, these two different content creators, are suggesting that these incredible buildings are being destroyed on purpose, because if there were enough inquiring minds like myself who are asking the question, how the hell did we do that? How did we do that in 2 years back in the 1800s when it would take us 15 years today? And I think they're right with their thoughts. Some of this stuff is so freaking incredible to behold. You got to just wonder, how did we do it? How did we do it? Let me go to this other guy's channel. This is the channel called My Lunch Break. This guy, you can find him on Rumble. Let me throw this guy on the screen here. All right, so this guy he's got balls enough to say, destroying the old world. That is the title of one of his many, many, many videos. Look at this building.
We have exposed the fire narrative right here on this channel. We have shown how the old world buildings, the previous civilizations work. Hold the fire narrative so many times. We have also shown how these fires are still happening today. We have built a massive team here, all of us. We are now able to expose these fires that are happening all around the world in real time, live, just like we did on July 11th, 2024. We have shown how these fires continuously happen while the structure is under some sort of restoration project, where we have also exposed that these so-called restoration projects are, of course, in my opinion, planned demolition projects or destruction projects. Over and over, where a fire breaks out in the spire of the French cathedral, just like we exposed live with the Copenhagen Stock Exchange or the Toronto Church. Same thing in Cleveland, where I'm just gonna let you know, we are all taking our power back. We are taking the truth back. right now in real time. And if you didn't know this already, we are the news now, where we are told that the blaze erupted at the top of the spire of the Gothic Our Lady of the Assumption Cathedral, a cathedral that was, of course, currently undergoing restoration. And of course...
All right, so he's getting a little in the weeds here, but what I really like are he'll take a town like the one that Paul Thaddeus showed this morning. It was fascinating. It was all about Madison, Wisconsin. And as I said, I just recently visited Madison. One thing that they have found in the town of Madison, Wisconsin, is that from the downtown civic center, where the Capitol is, there are tunnels, giant tunnels, that run underneath the city. Now, these are closed off to the public. You cannot access them. But they've found, if you trace the tunnels, there is enough information out there where they could trace these tunnels and where they run. And it looks as though all of the tunnels run underground to the Capitol there in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, why? Why would it do it? Sleeping Stars is saying, I don't think it was otherworldly. I don't believe it is otherworldly. I don't. I don't know necessarily what to believe about these incredible structures. All I do know is that there are so many of them. There are so freaking many of them around the world and around the U.S. that don't make sense. For instance, I wish I could find it. I wish I could find the show that I watched this morning all about Madison, Wisconsin, because what it shows is that some of the buildings in downtown Madison, they had enormous factories there that made anything from wooden furniture. There were factories that made like leather saddles. These were enormous structures. I'm talking, folks, the biggest damn buildings that take up entire city blocks with smokestacks and all of the stuff that you would imagine during the Industrial Revolution. But the thing that doesn't make sense, the thing that makes you scratch your head and say, okay, so they had great buildings. These towns, and he does it all over the place. He'll pick like Evanston, Indiana, or Evansville, Indiana. It doesn't matter. Pick a town, anywhere USA. And they'll go and they'll look at these, the plethora, the amazing amount of giant buildings in these towns that at the time these buildings were erected, the town only had 2,000 people. 2,000 people. Why would a town of 2,000 people in 1878 need an 8-story public library that is so ornate and so incredible that by today's standards, it would take us 20 years to build a building of this magnitude and grandiose, architecture with every conceivable spire and belvedere and arched openings and round windows and groin vaults and things that we have tremendous trouble building today. They apparently slapped these things up in 2 years, and they did it in a town that only had 2,000 people. I mean, how many library books could they have in an 8-story library? Were they the world's greatest readers? Some of these buildings just don't make sense. That's what I'm pointing out tonight. Somebody make it make sense. I want to know why these teeny tiny towns that you've never heard of, dotting all over America, have these incredible buildings with no population to support the need. There's no need to have an eight-story public library in a town of maybe 3,000 people. I wish I could. Let me see if I can find one of these. Boy. Clearly, I have chosen one of the episodes that isn't dealing with America, but I want to see if I can find one that does deal with America. Let me see. Old World Shredding History, episode number 82. Okay, here we go. This is all about Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine. Have you ever been to Portland, Maine? Let's look. Let's look at some of these buildings, shall we?
Was completed in just 5 years. And of course, would have gone a lot faster if it wasn't for all the delays in obtaining the granite for the upper stories. It's incredible. Where the need for the new custom house. Wait, a new one? What is this? The fire destroyed the Exchange Building, which had previously housed the customs office, post office, and courts, as well as 1,800, where we all know that stone is not flammable. We get this interesting article in the Portland Herald, where there is confusion about the death toll. Of course there is. On July 10th, 6 days after the fire, they report that 3 intoxicated men burned and didn't make it, which was one of the first buildings to burn down. However, it's also reported only 1 person didn't make it, where you can read on stone buildings all over the world, in nearly every single city. Yet everybody was just fine, and nobody had an issue getting away from this fire that exploded stone buildings. Not a single stone wall fell on anybody. Everybody just hopped on their horse and ran off into the sunset. So 1,800 buildings are gone, including the Exchange Building. That looks like a palace in itself. If this was one of the 1,800 buildings destroyed, could you even imagine what this city looked like? No power tools, riding around on horses and wagons. They were just all living in palaces, throwing another column in there just for fun. And every time I see this picture of the Exchange Building, it just looks like they put a new filter on it on Instagram to make it look like it's from back in the day. We are told that the Exchange Building was constructed between 1835 and 1839. 4 years. Remember, this is 56 years before they had a power tool. And this is where every single person should see that they are being told a massive today. Just barely. With those nice vanilla skies. And the sky wipeout didn't work that well. As you can see, the tree is all messed up. So they just knocked this one down. They just didn't need that one anymore. 4 years later, he knocked out another church in Boston, where in 1912, they were just using it to repair people's shoes. They had so many buildings from the previous civilization, all just sitting around, that they could just turn it into whatever they want, or just knock it down, just like they did with this one as well. So Richard Bond is just knocking out castle churches and Greek Revival public buildings. He was born in 1798. He was son of a farmer. Remember, adding that in, the front door to this place is lower and was possibly buried and is now in the so-called basement, where the basement was originally the first floor. And this has now changed. We've seen this all over the world, over and over, where the front door is always lower and is now possibly buried. And here is where things get very weird. Remember, we have Bond and Rogers, friends, teaming up for a year. Well, now we have the architect of this place, being Alfred B. Mullet. And guess who this guy was also partners with? There it is, Isaiah Rogers. And Mullet's supposed works are insane. From 1861 to 1872, 11 years, that's it. He knocked out 17 palaces in 11 years, if you can believe that. This is before the power tool. Now I'm gonna ask again, how are we to believe that every single architect in the world, every single builder was perfect? Over and over, they were perfect. There was never a mistake, and these buildings are incredible today. We can all see them. They're not something that we're making up. These places, you can actually go inside of them. And there was never a mistake. And these people could supposedly build palaces in 1 to 2 years, over and over and over. 11 years, and he knocked out 17 palaces. And we...
Okay, all right. I think I've probably shared enough of this to whet your appetite, or at least get you thinking along the lines that I am thinking. As a builder myself, when I look at an architect like that, from the 1800s, the early 1800s, before there were power tools, meaning all the blocks in those incredibly ornate buildings that you saw were made with supposedly hammer and chisel in their perfection, polished, honed, beautifully laid by master craftsmen, and they would crank out a building like that in 2 years. And then in an 11-year period, that one architect was responsible for busting out 19 lavish, incredible fucking structures. I'm sorry. I'm calling bullshit on this one. Look, I don't know what went down, but how many people were living in Portland, Maine in the early 1800s to warrant these incredible structures? Is it possible that we arrived here to find these structures already in place, and the people who write history conveniently twisted it to make us think that, yeah, well, no, we pulled that off. We did it. Our generation, our people, you know, the ones that came over on the Mayflower. Within 300, 400 years, we had mastered you have no idea how good our master craftsmen were back in the day. Man, I don't know what the hell to think, but something tells me when you look at the body of the work that these two content creators have done, and time after time after time, they go from city to city to city all over the United States, from Kentucky to Indiana to Wisconsin to New York City, Philadelphia. I watched a show this morning on Philadelphia that just blew my fucking mind. It blew my freaking mind. The beautiful buildings they have there. The high schools that were 7 stories tall. Really? 7 stories tall high school. Really? I mean, my company is working on a high school right now, one of the very biggest in this valley, and it's 3 stories max, and we got all the bells and whistles in them. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm interested in what you guys think. Let me throw a little number on the screen here. Let me throw a little number on the screen. Okay. There it is. That is the phone number to the mystery ship right there. I think I got it right. Yes, I think I got it right. Tell me. Now I want you to tell me, do you think it's possible that these buildings were already standing when we got here and that they were built by somebody else? Now, we didn't get into the weeds. Some of the in-depth stories that these content creators have done showed things like 8 and 12 foot tall doors to these massive, massive buildings. When the average man today is 6 foot tall and the doorknob is up at his head height, how the hell would he get inside this thing? We've got a caller. Welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do I have on the line this evening?
Zoso?
My buddy Tim, is that you?
This is Sloan.
It's my buddy. How is it going?
It's going really good.
Fantastic, my man. Fantastic.
You got a fantastic show going.
Dude, this stuff has, it's just made me scratch my head for so very long. How on earth did we build stuff like this when we can't do it today?
We didn't.
So,
how long did it take you to build the school you're working on?
2 years. We've been on it for 2 years. Yeah.
You got hydraulics, you got pneumatics, you got laser levels.
Everything. We have state-of-the-art, the best of the best. We have it on my job site.
Yeah, but you don't have hammers and chisels.
Even if we had 5, you know what, man? Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
One time.
Okay, so I worked on Bellagio, which is one of the most exquisite, incredible casinos. It's high-end. There is a lake out front with dancing water fountains and music plays, and the water dances perfectly to all of this. And when I worked on that job, there were 5,000 men a day working on that job. And I'm telling you, buddy, even with manpower like that, it was so big they had to drive us in trucks. They had like trolleys bringing us in because we had to park so far away from the building. And even with that kind of manpower, dude, as really fancy as that building is, it pales in comparison to the stuff that we have existing all over America. There's just
exactly.
I just don't believe. I do not believe that these things were built by this generation currently residing in America. I have a hard time. I have a hard time understanding it. And
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And when I seen you doing this show, I'm like, oh man, he's hitting on the good stuff. Paul Thaddeus is great. He's just pumping it out.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I in my recent months, I have met some fantastic people, including you. And I think a lot of it's very divine.
Yeah.
On who I have met. And I met a guy, and listen to how God works. Me and him met at a job site we were doing called the Museum of Illusion. And they're scattered around the country. And the guy says, yeah, you're going to work with this guy. I think you guys will get along real good. Well, we started talking and basically looking at each other's references as we were talking. It's like, well, what do you know about this? Oh, yeah. What do you know about that? Yeah. Okay, so he's been on Armor Up, and he has discovered something that I think explains all of this. And he's got biblical backing to it. And me and G. Ross were talking. It's like, this frickin' makes sense.
Yes.
Because, and I would like to do a show, get him me, you, him, Uncle Krusty, anybody that's, been into construction, and let him explain it, because I don't want to he found this stuff out, and I'm like, dude, you're spot on this. And he points out and backs up what you were saying is that, did we stumble across this? He says, Tim, look at all the cornerstones. The cornerstones on these old buildings say founded, they say dedicated to, or dedicated in. They don't say built in.
Yes.
Okay, and so he's told me that, and I'm like, I'm in downtown Cleveland, and I'm looking at all these freaking buildings, and it's just like, go into that city, I'm like, nope, didn't build that one. We didn't build that one. There's glass and steel. We built that one, you know.
Yeah.
Glass, steel, and caulking.
When you look at the magnificence of these structures, I mean, like right now, I've got the Capitol up on the screen. I wouldn't have the slightest idea. I mean, how the fuck would we build something like this? Let alone put that 50-foot tall Iron Man on the son of a bitch. Dude.
Right.
I swear.
I'm working in some buildings in downtown Cleveland, and they're all of this nature, okay? Of being like, now this isn't no possible way that they could have built this. So I went working in the Cleveland Auditorium, and they got plaster like crown. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's got the gold leaf, it's got everything. And I'm going down through this hallway, which is, it's probably the length of 2 basketball courts. And I'm going down this hallway looking at that crown molding.
Yeah.
And Zoe, I could not find one seam.
Not a joint to be found.
And the little leaves in the corners were perfect in each corner. And if you've hung wallpaper, you know that, hey, you got to have a kill spot where it doesn't line up.
Right. It just is, right. Yeah.
So I wanted to congratulate you on doing such a great show and promoting Paul Thaddeus and My Lunch Break and that other guy. Those are, and everybody should be looking at those things and calling bullshit. When you're walking down the street and look at one of them, say bullshit. Nobody built that. We did not build that. These things are granite and plaster, and after 200 years and climate change, it hasn't affected them one bit.
No, earthquakes, all that. Yeah. They've outlived everything. It is kind of strange how fires seem to break out in some of these more impressive buildings, and then they get raised and they make them go away. So it's like they're trying to do away with our history.
We're doing a church that was burnt in Tenneman. It's right there by Cleveland.
Okay.
And the guy that's in charge of taking it apart has drone footage of it. So, like, right after the fire, then they had the drones up in it looking and seeing what was going on. And he's getting me a copy of it. So I have that drone footage. It's like, hey, it's a really ornate church. And to be able to look down into it.
Oh, man, that must have been...
From a drone.
Must have been incredible.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to get it, though, and I'd like to get that. And then have you, and we'll get together and get a little show and
that'd be
special
fun
on this stuff.
That would be fun. We got to get Paulie in on it. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I showed his show on the list of Foxhole shows earlier in the program. I said, people, you need to go over and check this guy out because his content, it'll keep you up all night. if you got a questioning mind, Paul Thaddeus will keep you up all night long, people.
Paul Thaddeus will make you walk down the street and say, bullshit.
That's a fact, Jack. I love it. Thank you so much for the call, my man. It is great to talk to you.
All right, God bless.
Have a good one. That is, folks, that's another guy right there, Tim Sloan. If you are part of the Foxhole family, pilled.net, people, sign up for a free account there and go check out either Sloan TV or Sloan's Porch, because he also puts up some of the finest content, and it runs around the clock. I mean, I don't know how these guys do it. I don't have that kind of computer savviness, but great content from great dudes who are spreading truth 24/7. I wish I could do that. I wish I knew how to do that. Holy crap. Here we go. We've got another call right now from the 207 area code. Welcome aboard the Mystery Ship, my friend. Who do we have on the line?
Hi, it's I Bitch Slap Satan.
How are you doing, Erica? Great to talk to you.
I was wondering if I could drop a fun fact.
But absolutely. Do it.
Okay, so I grew up in Manhattan and in the 70s and 80s, and they had a lot of my friends lived in pre-war buildings. And when I went into their apartments, well, all of Manhattan's like a jail anyway, but anyway, when I went into their apartments, it was like a grand palace. The ceilings were so high. I don't know the dates of the buildings, but they always, when I was growing up, they called them pre-war buildings. And so I don't know if it's part of your subject tonight or not, but boy, were they beautiful. Oh. The ceilings were so high. Some of them had tray ceilings with backlighting. Some of them had raw brick fireplaces, huge fireplaces, like just beautiful historical buildings in Manhattan. And one more thing, also, when I was young, I used to explore because it was like a jail growing up there with no nature. So I used to explore, and I used to go from rooftops down to subway tunnels that were closed down. I explored everything. And one thing I noticed that every building had in common was there was no 13th floor, ever, in the elevator.
Right. Yeah.
So the staircase never led to one. The elevator never led to one. And I have a feeling there were 13 floors. There was. 13th floor, but there was, The
numbers go from 12 to 14. I've looked into that. It's superstition. It is superstition why there's no 13th floor.
Well, I don't know. Like I heard other things, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to discuss it right now. Mm-hmm. But I heard other things too, so it's just interesting, you know?
Yeah, I have to tell you that one of these channels, I think, gosh darn it, don't tell me it's the one that I erased. Damn it. One of these channels that I showed tonight, I think it's called Old World Exploration. You can find them on YouTube. He goes city by city, and he has one on New York itself. And Erica, I'm telling you, you would find that one fascinating. I got lost today. Paul, I was up. I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night last night. I went over to my buddy Paul's channel and just got hooked on 2 or 3 of these shows. And then I started doing my own exploration. And I mean, for hours and hours and hours, I would look at like Cincinnati. Here, I'm just going to show on the screen right now. This is one of the guys' channels. All right, look at all these different, what is under Chicago, okay? They found tunnels and all kinds of stuff. As you scroll down, they do just about all kinds down. Old World, Minnesota, you know? I mean, all over the U.S. Cleveland, that's the one that my buddy Sloan was just talking about. These guys explore all over the U.S. and they ask questions that any builder, such as myself, I would sit and scratch my head and say, how the hell did they build that? And the bigger question is, why would they build something so immense as either a public library or a local high school when the size of the town doesn't warrant it? Yeah.
I think I have an answer, and it's not an educated one. It's kind of a feeling, and I know people don't like feelings these days, but I really think that there's so much more to it, though. I mean, Jesus, I almost forgot what I was going to say, but I'm so passionate about this because I used to explore when I was little. Like, I was so bored, and I didn't want to hang out on the street with my classmates. So I was like, wait a minute, I got to dig. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
You know?
I hear you.
You know?
Yeah,
They were boring. They're boring classmates.
I mean, the things that they teach us in school and make us repeat back to them, regurgitate back to them, is really useless knowledge. It's unless you know from this time you're in the second grade what field you're just so passionate about mathematics that you know you're going to be an astrophysicist or a structural engineer.
God!
That's
my
one in
daughter, No, my daughter went to school in 6th grade. I'm a smart bitch. Let me tell you, my daughter went to school, and she came home with a math thing, and it was like backwards math, and I'm like, I can't help you. Like, I can't believe I cannot help you. Like, that's ridiculous.
I hear you. That whole Common Core math thing was the biggest joke I ever. Oh my God! I mean, the stuff that the nuns taught me back in 1965. You know, I mean, I don't need a calculator. I can add, subtract, multiply, divide with no problem with just a pencil. Give me a pencil, and I can do it.
I know.
Kids today, you go to McDonald's and it's $11.84, and you hand the kid the change so that all he has to do, you hand him a 20 and you hand him some change, so all he has to do is hand you back, a $10 bill, and they just stare at you and they stare at the screen, and I'm like, dude, I gave you that extra $1.84. Just hand me a 10. Are you sure?
Yeah,
we're
living in the zombie aftermath.
Oh my God. They can't add and subtract without a fucking calculator. It is so sad. It's so sad. Oh man.
Yeah.
Erica, I love your call, and I love that a New Yorker chimed in to let us know that you've seen the ornate stuff with your own eyes. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Love it, darling. Hope everything's great up there in Maine.
Oh my gosh, it's fabulous. I'm sitting by the fire, and I love you, and have a great night, and I'm still listening.
Thanks for your call. Have a
good
night.
One,
kiddo. Bye-bye. That's our friend I Bitch Slap Satan, one of my, quite frankly, friends. A former New Yorker now living in God's country. God's country. Well, from the 239 area code, welcome aboard the Mystery Ship. Who do we have on the line?
Hello, this is Vault Music. How are you?
Hey, Vault Music. Good to hear from you.
I hope you are well. You've been okay?
Doing groovy, man. Everything's healed nicely. My foot, doing well. Doing well.
Well, that's great to hear. I hope everybody's doing well. I just wanted to bring something up. Now that you're talking about this, there have been some amazing things in my life I've seen growing up. Whenever I was younger, I used to go on like church missions trips all the time.
Oh yeah.
And my church, I'm telling you, there was a time my church, we all went to a place called Edinburgh, Scotland.
Ooh, wow.
It's Edinburgh. I don't know how they say it. It's
all right.
Weird way they say it. And I went and saw the Braveheart Monument. And that, yes, and that was the most incredible sight that I've ever seen in my life.
How freaking cool is that?
Yeah, and we saw the battlefield, the actual battlefield, and I can almost still, I can feel the energy there. It's almost like something that never left, you know, like just something, it's like you get that strange feeling when you go into one of them ancient places.
Yeah.
And there have been, and I also went, years later in my life, I also went down to a place called, oh man, I encourage you to really look this place up. It's called Antigua, Guatemala. And this place was buried way back, I believe, in the 1600 era. I don't know. It was buried by a volcano. And the entire town was wiped out, and many people lost their lives. And then, sometime later in the 20th century, they dug up all the buildings, and they turned it into a huge tourist town. And when I went there, it was like this huge place that was like trapped in time. It was weird. Like they had brick roads.
Yeah.
You know, it was like there was the only McDonald's I've ever seen that actually had a computer cafe in there. And, you know, I was like, what is this? So I looked in there.
I mean, just wandering through Europe, my daughter was very fortunate. She was studying architecture at Oregon State, and she and 5 other students were chosen to tour and see the architecture of Europe. And they went to Berlin, they went to Copenhagen, they went to Rome, they went to Florence in particular. They took them all around Europe, and she said that Scotland was just amazing. Scotland and Ireland blew her mind.
And if I may, Scotland was the most. Oh my God!
Yeah.
You know how beautiful when you're driving through like the Tennessee and Kentucky area. You know how like you see the beautiful landscapes and the mountains, and Scotland's like that, but it's like that, but times 10. And you have like, and you can even look out and see like sheep all gathered out, like right, like in front of someone's lawn. And I'm looking out, and sometimes you can even see houses where there's literally clouds going through the homes. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's such a beautiful place, and you know, and seeing the ruins. I've been to Athens, Greece, one time.
Oh wow!
And I went and seen the ruins of like some of the castles that they had there, like the Greek goddess or whatever.
Oh, sure.
I can't whatever
Acropolis and all. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Wow.
I've seen the leftover ruins of all that. Was in the most something I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life.
Oh, dude, I personally,
You know?
I went to Pompeii, okay, in Italy, where you know, what was it? 80 BC is when Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried it, and here we are. It was, for me, it was 1975, but I mean, they've got bodies that they dug out of the ash that are frozen in time. You know, people's bodies in whatever position they were buried in the ash in these glass cases for you to see, and to think that, you know, here it is 2,000 years later, and you're looking at this poor bastard who was flash killed in ash. You know, it's just mind blowing to.
I know. Yeah, and the last thing sorry, I know you probably got other callers. The last thing that I also wanted to bring up too that I have seen, it's the most incredible thing. I went and I have literally I've seen Venice, Italy. I've actually driven through the gondolas on.
Nice.
You know, on a gondola, and I actually rode through the area to where Marco Polo's house was.
Wow!
And the most beautiful scene. I mean, I was literally like hearing some guy playing some insanely beautiful music on a piano, and it was echoing through the entire alleyway.
Oh man!
And you're just looking out at everything, and it almost made you like, oh man, this moment I never wanted to forget.
How awesome.
And yeah, so I mean, I've seen a lot of parts of the world, and when you see certain architectures, and the last thing that I seriously want to bring up before I end this call is that I seriously really just wonder if, like, what if I seriously think about this too, like, what if, like, somehow maybe there was, like, a government of some sort, like, way back before the flood, or maybe humans at some point in time were just getting way too smart, and maybe our government was crooked just then too, like they weren't out as they can be, and they caused the flood. Or maybe I had a friend that told me, like, what if the government did it? I'm like, what if they created the flood? It's like, or what if, or because how can we have, like, because they found cone-shaped human skulls, like I've seen certain things, and I'm like, how can we have been, like, I just feel like we overlook these things, and that's all I wanted to say is, like, how can there have been just us? There had to have been some other insanely advanced civilization that was around before, like, our time, like when our ancestors were here, that literally had some sort of high-tech technology, because I don't see how we could have done that either. Like, those are just things I always question. I think that's just really all I got to say.
Yeah, I look at some of these buildings and I'm like, how the hell do we do that? But the bigger question is, so they had, 25, 30, 40 of these buildings in, say, Philadelphia, back when the population was only 5,000 people. I mean, why the hell would they, if they did build them back in the 1800s, why would they need that many buildings for just a small amount of people?
And to think about, and to think about how much technology they would have needed to even be able to build these buildings.
Yeah.
Like, you could even look at certain things and see, like, okay, how could we have created that type of tool? How could we have, done all these things? That, like, there were certain pictures I've seen in the past, and I'm but I think that's all I wanted to bring up. I don't want to hog up all your time, so thank you so much, and
Thanks
I appreciate it. That's all.
Great to talk to you, Vault Music. Thanks for checking in. Good to see you out there. All right.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oh, man, what a lucky guy. He's been around. When I was in Rome, one of the coolest buildings that I saw, I want to say it was called the Pantheon, but it was a stone building that had an arched top, perfectly rounded top, and there was a hole in the middle of it. I'm telling you, a hole big enough that when it rained, rain came right down in on the marble floor. But this is a top view here. When the sun would shine, it would go through the hole, and there was 12 statues all around the inside of the building, and you could tell what time of day it was by this building. But the amazing thing was the tour guide who was with me. Our group had about 25, 30 people in it, and he pulled out a harmonica, and he hit a note, and he says, I want you to all sing this note, and when I drop my hand, I want you to stop. So we all hit this, let's say the note A. And when he dropped his hands, our voices rang and rang and rang for 60 seconds after we stopped singing. It was incredible. Incredible. Welcome aboard the Mystery Ship. Do I still have you?
Well, you do.
All right, good deal. I was worried I didn't grab you quick enough. Welcome aboard the Mystery Ship. Who do I have on the line?
Well, by God, you got just Jim.
How you doing, brother? How goes the battle?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic,
you're
man.
talking about giants building something. We didn't do that with horse and buggy. We found that stuff.
Oh, come on, man. Sure we did. No,
Horse
seriously.
and buggy?
Yeah, man. Dude.
All these columns and everything, man. I just had it all in, and
it's absolutely mind-blowing to see the earliest photographs, right? And you see out front of these incredible buildings, 10, 12 stories tall, horses and buggies down below.
Yeah.
That was the mode of transportation at the time, and yet these people
and
had
mud.
they had the most beautiful mud streets, but they had the most beautiful fucking buildings you ever saw. I mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just
there's something going on over there.
It kind of smells. Yeah.
Hey, my nose ring business is doing really good.
Is it really? Are you?
Trump is a fascist, racist. Okay, so we got these little things that come down from the middle of the nose ring and they go over the mouth. They can only eat lettuce and celery and stuff from the side. Okay. You can't eat like soup. Your nose ring goes in the soup.
Just like a Lay's potato chip, you can't have just one.
No.
Jimbo,
now, I was thinking about doing nipple rings, but none of us men are going to ever see any of them.
Jimbo, it is
Okay?
always.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
Of course I do.
But yeah.
Hey, my man, I'm.
Why are the doors 20 feet tall?
Well, I mean, that's one of the pictures that I had it called up on my computer and I somehow erased it. One of the pictures I had was of New York, and it showed these doors that were clearly like 16 feet tall, and it shows a guy there at 6 foot tall going into this doorway. And why does he need a door that big? Unless, of course, the people who built them were 12 footers. 12 footers, because by today's standards, I put doors in all day long. 3070 is a standard door size for a hollow metal door, man. 3 foot,
right?
3 foot wide, 7 foot tall, plenty of clearance. Maybe Shaquille O'Neal might have to duck under it, but for the rest of us, it's quite satisfactory. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. You explained
and
the
we
16.
could actually put the door up and put the hinge pins in at our house.
Yeah.
Without having to get a giant ladder.
Yeah. Amazing.
Who put those doors up? Who?
I want to, dude. I want to know.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean. There's just no way that little people be. Us. I don't consider myself little. I'm 6 foot. Well, 5'11" and a half now with my back surgery and all that. But anyway.
All right. Hey, I appreciate your call, my man. I just looked at the clock. Apparently, I'm already running over. I'm running overtime. I'm gonna have to mosey down the road.
Well, my goodness, it was good to call you again. I like to talk to you from here and there.
Always good to talk to you, just Jim, my man. Have yourself a fine evening.
We got ice fishing coming up now.
Do you really?
I don't know why anybody would go ice fishing. I just put water in the freezer and it turns into ice. And these fly fishing people, they go fly fishing. You know how many flies it would take to feed a family of 4? I mean, it just doesn't sound right.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Hey, my man, I appreciate your call.
Brother.
I'm going to let you rumble.
I love you. Have a great night.
You too. Take care, man. Thanks for the call.
Okay, bye.
All right. Always welcome aboard the mystery ship right there. That's my friend, Just Jim, one of our Foxhole guys. Let me quickly show you a couple of these. I'm going to drop the links. I'm going to drop the links to these channels in the chat so you guys can go and mosey around them yourselves. Let me put this up right here. This is one of the channels I was looking at. It's called Old World Exploration. Okay, Old World Exploration. You should check this guy out. He's really got some fascinating stories on there, and this guy, much like the other one, really does his homework. I think you could get lost on there the same way I did. The other guy's channel is this one here. You can find him at Rumble. This is called My Lunch Break. And the truth is, so Rumble, My Lunch Break. Fantastic resource. You guys, I'm not kidding you. Anybody who's curious about this kind of thing, you could get lost on there. You could spend your whole Sunday on there the same way I did. It just happens sometimes. Again, a hat tip to my dear brother Paul Thaddeus for getting me hooked on this subject. It's been something that I've been studying for for quite some time, but it just so happened that he played a couple of programs this morning that just it just whet my appetite, and I'm like, man, this is a groovy topic to talk about. I got to bring this up tonight. So again, if you have the opportunity to go over to pilled.net and sign up for a free account, go in and drop in and see my buddy Paul Thaddeus and tell him Zoe sent you. Tell him Zoe sent you. Great dude with great content. I'm going to mosey on out of here. It's that time, people. It is that time. And man, but before I do, I want to take just a couple minutes and ask us to pray for a number of people who are hanging in there, who really need our prayers. Okay, I'm going to start off tonight with the ladies. I was saddened to find out that one of the ladies we had been praying for actually had passed away a while back in May. Our dear brother Rich Koschmider, who had been taking care of his mom for so very long, she had passed away in May. So very sad news there. But our brother Val Kimber, his mom, and our dear sister Leah Worth, her mom, and our dear brother the Batman, his mom. All three of these moms need our prayers. Please keep them in your prayers if you would. Leah's mom just had 2 back-to-back surgeries, and Leah is doing her best to take care of her mother, as does Val Kimber, as does the Batman. Pray for these families. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. There's the young girl, Carrie, that our dear sister, Artist61, told us about. This young lady, she's been diagnosed with 2 different types of cancers, and she is a very young woman with a very young family. I would ask that we pray for this woman, that God heals her. Right now, God is about the only chance she has. And I'm here to tell you that the power of prayer is nothing short of amazing, people. If you believe in it, I'm telling you, it is the most powerful tool in your toolbox. Don't take it lightly. Please keep them in your prayers. Our dear brother Gary Flessner is fighting the good fight. He's really up against it right now. He is in a complex that it's not his cup of tea. And I would pray that Gary somehow finds the strength to work his way up and out of there, because right now they're not giving him the type of physical therapy he needs. The only way that he's going to get out of that place and make it home is on his own volition. He is going to have to find a way to strengthen his upper body, his upper arms, so that he can get around with a walker, and he needs our prayers, folks. He needs our prayers. Our dear brother, Gary Flessner, please keep him in your prayers. One of our brothers, Matrix Codebreaker. Matrix Codebreaker is, he's home, thank goodness, after spending, I think, a week, 10 days in the hospital. A very bad infection in his left leg. They put steel in there and all kinds of titanium and all that. The doctors took all kinds of really horrible infection out of his leg. He said the crud just kept coming, man. It blew the doctors' minds. I pray for his recovery. He is really a neat dude. Really a neat dude once you get to know him. Matrix Codebreaker, please keep him in your prayers if you would. Our dear sister Trick Pony, I want us to continue to pray for her husband. Her husband is in need of our prayer, folks. Keep him covered in prayer if you would. All right, before we go here, I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Why do I have that on the screen? Zoe, you shut down the phone a long time ago. All right, that's gone. Let us release the Kraken. Releasing the Kraken. No, I'm releasing the Scratchin' over there at Pilled Foxhole. Pilled Foxhole, the Scratchin' is hereby released. I want to thank the wonderful people who supported this program this evening. Due Diligence, Girl Patriot, Secret Weapon, Spazzo Yeti so many times it isn't funny. Spazzo Yeti has his own page of donations there, from top to bottom. Just Jim, thank you, my friend. All of you guys who decided to support this program, thank you so much for the love you spread. The wind you put in the mystery ship sails is greatly, greatly appreciated. I also have some fantastic people over in Lemon Land. Wonderful folks. Wonderful folks keeping the boat afloat. Mad Pogue, Bad Zoot, Peggy Dancer, Vault Music, Lieutenant Cooker, Syllabore, Lynn Winters, Sheeple Beware, Artist 61, Kosh 56. Thank all of you guys for your contributions to my program over there. Let me take a second and I'm going to put some love. I'm going to put some love in the tank over there. Yep. Let's put a little something in that travel chest right there. Okay. Very good. Hereby distributing the rewards. I am hereby distributing the rewards right now. Right now. They're coming your way. Coming your way. Thank you, everybody, for rocking my world over there. You are the best. Here it comes in 3, 2, 1. Treasure chest. Tonight's lucky recipients are... Oh, come on. Come on now. Put it on the screen. There we go. Bad Zoot. On top of the heap. Peggy Dancer. Sheeple Beware, Artist 61, and Lynn Winters. I'm glad to see that the people who throw lemons my way get some lemons thrown back their way once in a while. It's nice to see that. Good deal. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope you will check out those couple of content creators. Great stuff. Really, really great stuff out there. Have yourselves a fantastic week ahead, my friends. A fantastic week ahead. I will see you Wednesday night. And I look forward to doing this again with you. Let me pull up my little... There's my song. There is my song. I'm going to have to, before I play this music, I'm going to have to say goodbye to the beautiful people over at YouTube, because if I play this on YouTube, I will get a black mark, and I can't do that. I just can't do that. So, folks at YouTube, I love you. Thank you all for hanging out over there. I saw so many of you, which is freaking phenomenal. Thanks for hanging out with me, YouTubers. Love you lots. But I got to pull the plug so I can play my exit music. Good night, YouTube. Good night. Okay. I am pulling the cord. YouTube,